Welcome back, Flyers Nitty Gritty fans, to Getting Gritty with It with your host, Yariv, Wolok, my partner in crime, Vasili, Gianarakos. Vasili, welcome back, buddy.
Hey, Yariv, we're back for another one. Not much really going on in terms of Flyers news, really hockey news in general. We're kind of in that like lull period, other than our RFA arbitration type stuff. But other than that, not bad at all. Yariv, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. We kind of talked about how this is going to be an episode that we're just going to riff. Not too much like topical to talk about. So we're just going to kind of go off on some things that we have written down. But before we do, I do want to talk about our sponsor. Usually I forget to give a shout out to the sponsor all the time, and I'll say it at the end or whatever, or halfway through. But this time, cannot forget this time. So actually, our sponsor in this case needs help. Jim Steaks. They've had a fire recently, and they've had a lot of damage. Now, don't get me wrong. I know they have insurance and all that stuff, but we are doing a GoFundMe. There's a link to it on our social channel. I know Rebecca shared it out, and I know Jamie's been sharing out. Just, I'm not on social media much nowadays, but just please go. If you want to give anything, you do not have to at all, but just even a positive message or whatever to them, I think is more than welcoming. Or just go back when they open. They will be back open. We are offering them the free advertisement until they do. We hope they fix everything up, because it's a legendary place here, and it's unfortunate, but I'll say this: I can tell you, they make a lot of money. They will be open again, so that is the good news. At least a lot of people will get their jobs back, and it's not the end of no lives were lost, nothing like that. In the end, it's just property and some money and time and tears.
Yeah, exactly right. Yariv, that's really the main thing. I mean, that nobody was hurt, because you never know what's going to happen in a situation like that. So that's obviously, good to see for gyms. And it is unfortunate, people losing their jobs, place burning down, things like that. But I'm sure, as a staple in the community that they've been for years, and people, know Jim Steaks. Some people probably travel to Philly just to try Jim Steaks itself.
Yes,
so
definitely,
I'm sure that they're going to bounce back better than ever. And city of Philadelphia, and even all over, the country and in Canada, we're all here to support Jim Steaks and help them get back on their feet. So kudos to Jim's for being, a staple for all these years, and we're here for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, to me, it's like not even a big deal that we have a sponsor. Like, it was always just cool to work with Jim Steaks.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not out there searching for sponsorships. I'll tell you guys right now, I have a full-time job. I don't care about the money. It's just awesome to work with Jim Steaks. I really hope that they get they're building back up soon. All right, let's move into some, I want to say, fun stuff.
Yeah, I guess
say
so.
Fun. I do want to say shout out to Hockey DB for reaching out. I think it was Peter. Oh my God, I got to look up his name. That is so rude, because he invited me on. And if you guys got to listen, it was pretty cool. I think it was Peter, and then Ricky also. Oh, Ricky messaged me. Whoops. Anyway, from a Hockey DB, they invited me on last night to talk about the Flyers, and Kelly Hinkle was there, and Jim was on, and Jordan was on there, and it was cool. I'm probably going to repeat some of what I said there tonight here if you listen to that, but go check that out. That was cool. Hockey DB is an awesome resource. I've been using it for years.
Oh yeah, for draft perfect stuff. Site for draft stuff, stats as well.
It's quick. They also update their stats faster than everyone. So if you're looking for the most up-to-date stats, they're usually up to date by like that night, like scoring and everything.
So
if
you're like into the fantasy stuff.
Prospect. Well, what I use it for, a big thing that I use it for is I've talked about this before. I'll like go to the Flyers draft history, and I'll just click on all those names and just check to see their progress. There's also elite prospects, obviously, which has a really nice consolidated list there too. But this is just another way to like see progress, see everybody drafted.
Different format, exactly.
Yeah, just a cool view. Good website. But a lot of negativity on that show. Don't know if you noticed. And we got a little bit of feedback about our last episode about negativity. And to be honest with you, we totally appreciate what we were talking about before this. Like, we do try to be more negative. We do try to be more positive, because we are. And it's legitimate. Like, I'm not more positive. I see it as solving a problem. But when we bring people on, we try to allow them to state their thoughts, their opinions, right? So if it skews a certain way that episode, it could be because we're just letting them talk, right?
Yeah.
But
But also, nobody has each opinion's different. Just
yeah,
because you have a different perspective doesn't mean it's the wrong perspective.
yeah,
So you can't, not let somebody give out kind of what they're thinking, what they're saying. So
yeah,
that was our goal, and
yeah,
usually is our goal for all our guests, pretty much.
yeah. It was awesome feedback, honestly, because it's so good to see that people, listen to this for the mindset that Vasili and I have. Again, I didn't know Vasili prior to FNG, right? He joined FNG.
Yeah.
I see his tweets. Jamie brings him in. All of a sudden, I start to see patterns. And then by the end, I bring him on once and it just works out. There's a reason that the two of us podcast together, right? We have a little bit of different view than everybody else. And that's fine, right? Together, we make a holistic view of what the fan base is. But I think ours is just a little bit different where, like I was even being asked this question last night. It's a fair question. Do you think that the Flyers are a playoff team or not? And my answer was, ask me after training camp. People don't want to hear that. Everybody wants a definitive answer. This is not a playoff team. There's no way in hell. If you look at them on paper, even the other side. Oh, I think that everything could be fixed. You have no idea.
Realistically, that's my thought when it comes to really any team. I mean, there's been so many times where before our season I predicted, well, this team, just look at them on paper, they don't look like they have it in them to make the playoffs whatsoever. Then they make the playoffs, or one of the best teams in hockey somehow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes weird things come out of nowhere. Usually it's not like that. Usually, I mean, there's analysts, experts for a reason. They have the ability to kind of look through the fabric and the structure of an organization, see what kind of talent they have there, and make a decent projection. But it's like you were saying that you mentioned off air last night, that, I mean, it's sports for a reason. I mean, you wouldn't watch if you knew what was going to happen. So,
right.
Which is pretty much the case. Like, you can tell me the Flyers on paper look bad. I mean, I can't say they have the best roster in the Eastern Conference, even a top 8 roster realistically when you compare them to others sometimes. But I can't say that I'd be, 100% shocked if they found themselves in the playoffs. I could see it happen.
Actually, let's say this is actually really interesting because you're like, they look bad on paper, right? And it's not, I'm not saying you said that, but that is obviously a common thing. And you do look at the team on paper. You're not like, oh, this is the best team in the league.
Top contender, yeah.
Totally get that. If you rewind 2 years and you look at this team on paper, that is not the statement that is said. You rewind back 2 years, you go, oh shit, you got Selke winner Sean Couturier, you got young up-and-comer Provorov, you have Ryan Ellis, who's still theoretically playing at the time, right? You have Travis Sanheim, who's a high pedigree. You have even Owen Tippett was a top 10 pick, Morgan Frost had all this promise. And it's like, now all of that seems Provorov, obviously, and all that seems completely deflated. And I think that is wrong. It is as biased as being overly positive. It is the exact opposite end of the spectrum. You cannot skew either way. We all fall into it. It is not, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not saying anybody's, we fall into it at times, but the reality is you have to be centered with all of this. And let's just make this the first topic. I think this is a good transition into this. And I actually didn't finish this. I think this was from the interview with Jordan Hall.
It's Jordan Hall with NBCSN Philly.
With Rick Tocchet. Here, do you want to say Vasili?
Yeah, exactly. So Jordan Hall had Rick Tocchet on the Flyers Talk podcast, this past week, and they kind of went through just his thoughts on Ivan Provorov and what he kind of believes about him. So I'll go through some of the quotes. Essentially, pretty much, Tocchet just stated that he's trended down the last year in his play. He hasn't looked the best for whatever reason that may be. But obviously, young defensemen, young players in a league as good as the NHL struggle, which is, something we could see with a lot of guys that didn't play so well, got traded, and then teams regret that later on. I mean, Brent Burns, the Flyers have done it with a couple players, like a Justin Williams, Patrick Sharp. Whatever, getting ahead of myself. But Tocchet essentially just said that, even though he was trending down, I don't know what's going on in the dressing room, but he's got that skill. He's got the hockey IQ. He's proved it in the league previously. He also stated that a couple of years ago, he loved the guy. He wouldn't have traded Provorov for anybody in the league. He thinks the guy right now gets a summer off to refresh after all, that's happened here the last couple seasons. He has a new coaching staff, new defensive coach. I think he can just kind of relax going into this year, and there doesn't have to be as much pressure on him. And the last quote that's interesting was that he was looking at Provorov's game and thinking that he kind of overpassed a bit this season.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just from his bird's eye view perspective.
Forced to overpass.
He was saying that he'd like to see him take more control on the power play and be the top guy, and use his shot more versus pass as much as he's been doing. But all around, he really likes his breakouts and things like that he's seen, and he's capable to be a top defenseman in the league. So that was the gist of the article there.
Yeah, I guess Rick Tocchet is an idiot, huh?
Yeah, no.
What does he know?
Rick Tocchet definitely knows hockey, and I mean, one thing that I have a very similar view of with Provorov is basically it's just that, I mean, if you look at the way the fundamentals of his game are structured, just how he plays when the team is actually playing a structured brand of hockey and like players are supporting each other on the ice, like he fits into that mold like a glove. And the Flyers have not had that type of mentality around their team or on ice structure at all the last 2 seasons. So like, I can't really blame a guy who's playing 25 to like 30 minutes a night on a regular basis on a team that is a dumpster fire in pretty much all 3 zones.
Also the youngest on the D.
Yeah.
Outside of York.
Yeah. Dumpster fire in all 3 zones. So like when you're playing that much minutes on the ice, you can't, like, it's inevitable that there's going to be goals against, turnovers. When you play 25 minutes a night, you have the puck on your stick a lot. So like usually the best players turn the puck over the most, but it doesn't mean that they're bad. It's just because they have the puck the most. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I mean, there were certain plays last season where I saw his decision making wasn't the greatest. You'd like some different, looks out of the way he passed out of the zone, but also the forwards, in my opinion, weren't giving him good outlets, and they weren't really supporting in terms of like being open to actually hit a pass. So it's either force a pass, make a turnover, or just ice it. So like I can't really blame the guy.
Dude, I have a feeling that Ivan Provorov is going to have the biggest jump under Torts of any single player on this roster, and he's going to make everybody eat their words. I think majority of people do not realize who they are talking about. And again, I'm not trying to be a dick here, but like this is a guy who came in with such a high pedigree, who has the best work ethic of anybody on our team. And within half a year, the entire team was called, or the entire sections of the fan base are calling him a selfish asshole and all that. This is all brand new. I'm not saying he's a perfect person. I'm not saying he needs to be a perfect person. I don't really care. I don't need any of them to be perfect people. But when I look at a guy who's been in the position with all those skill sets, all those tools, just like Philly, just like Rick Tocchet is saying, he's like, oh, I wouldn't have traded him for anybody. I remember back in the day, people were talking about trading Provorov, and I said, literally short of trading for Austin Matthews, I am not moving my number 1 defenseman. We cannot afford it. And then it went, oh, I hope we can get rid of this guy. Things do not work that way. If they do, it's because your GM is doing a terrible fucking job. And everybody who wants to tell me that they do, look at the Shane Gostisbehere situation. Was he actually worth trading a 2nd and a 7th to move his cap, or did we get fucking ripped off? We got ripped off bad, and it's embarrassing now in retrospect. And you see what a guy like Anthony DeAngelo would bring in a return, who's a very similar type of player. Again, you can make the case that DeAngelo is much better than Ghost. It still doesn't mean you have to move a large amount of assets to get rid of a pretty reasonable cap for a 50-point defenseman. There is no guy in the city on the radio that is going to convince me that Shane Gostisbehere is a terrible player in the NHL. If he is, he would not be playing here. And there would have been lots of coaches who would not be playing him. The reality is, these are terrible ideas. That this is making excuses, saying it's not me, it's him. These are the wrong type of people we need. I am very much looking forward to seeing what Tortorella can do with his specific attitude, and a guy like Provorov specifically, who's had a lot of people go, hey, Provorov, you're not giving it to us, to all of a sudden Torts being like, each one of you have to carry your own exact same amount of weight. I don't care if you're Provorov. I don't care if you're Justin Braun. I don't care if you're Cam York. You're all being treated the same. And I think under that, Provorov looks great. because if you look at the way he behaves, he puts in as much or if not more effort than everybody else. And there's no coach in the world that's going to look at the way Provorov plays and goes, I don't know. I don't think the guy has it.
Or I don't think that's a guy that I'm going to want on my defensive core. A player that can play 25 minutes a night in all situations.
I've never seen that from him.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, the thing is, I mean, and really the souring goes back to just like how he kind of ended that press conference at the end of the season. The media kind of gets ticked off. Okay, like I've gone back to this, and essentially, in my opinion,
Torts gets mad at the media.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, I don't personally care if a guy acts like a dick to the media. I mean, sure. I mean, you could handle a situation in a more mature manner, whatever. That is true. Yeah. The real thing is the guy's, 25 years old or just turning 25. So still a young guy. That's the first thing.
He also didn't say anything that bad.
No, he didn't really say anything that bad. He didn't swear. He didn't tell anybody off. So that's the first thing. Like, you think you would have done something terrible or something. But yeah, not even to that extent. The real thing is that, like, I'd rather have a guy who seemed frustrated at the season that the team had and the lack of success and results, and that come off like that, because it shows the guy really cares. I've said this going back to that end of the season press conference and the podcast we probably did that week covering that a guy showing he's frustrated and showing that he's pissed off about his surroundings means that he wants to change those surroundings and hopefully, better the team next season and, perform to the best of his abilities. You could probably ask Provorov. He seems like a guy that, puts in a lot of work in the gym, a lot of work on the ice, obviously practices a ton. He looks like a guy that really would probably tell you that his last season wasn't the greatest, and he could have been better at points throughout the season. I think he'd probably admit that. But to say that, he, like, some of these takes are he's the worst defenseman on the roster. Like, you saw outlandish stuff, like, he's a second pairing defenseman. Like, no, he'd be on the first pair on probably every single team in the league.
Yes, I do not think that there's a team in the league that he cannot play in their top pair.
The only team would be like Tampa, and that's because you have like Sergachev and Hedman. That's the only close team for me.
Okay, dude, you put Provorov on Tampa Bay. I don't know. He could have better numbers than Sergachev. Why is that?
He could. No, it's not crazy, but I'm saying, like,
caliber of player.
Yeah, they're similar. They train together, but like, there's a very few select teams you can say, like, that's what I mean. Maybe one in the league. Iffy.
Even Colorado, like, I'm not saying he replaces Cale Makar. I'm not an asshole, but when you won Cale Makar with a guy like Provorov, it's like literally a dream top pair.
No, but that's even for Colorado. Like, who else would you place above him on their team?
There is nobody. He would be the number two.
He'd be the number two. That's what I mean. It's like on a cup
behind a guy who's on a Paul Coffey type of beyond that.
Beyond Bobby
Orr level, Nicholas Lidstrom like career.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So, like, I just can't buy into, like, the fact that, Provorov was never as good as we thought he was, and
it's just the it's the same shit every time, dude.
Yeah, but that's the thing that kind of irks me. That, like, if you see respect to people with, like, a good mind and good opinion for hockey, obviously Rick talking guys played the game, coached the game, giving this praise to the player.
They don't want to be honest, dude.
Yeah,
dude, people don't want to be honest. They want to be angry. Look at the way people talk about Voracek, man. And I hear them all the time. I'm not going to list any names. I don't really care about calling people out individually, but I hear the way people talk about Voracek, who never really did here. Oh, yeah, only Hart Trophy candidate, literally led this team in points almost every single year. Was the driving engine, one of the best possession players in history on the Philadelphia Flyers.
Was literally a top 10 winger in the league.
What the hell are you guys talking about?
Like
heroic moments left and right.
Straight, yeah.
Literally, him, Simmons, Couturier, and Giroux carried this team into the playoffs. They wouldn't have made the playoffs at all without him whatsoever. Like, you can even make the case we lost the trade for the Cam Atkinson trade, not because Cam Atkinson is worse, but because you look at the puck possession game that we lost in Voracek, it was extremely noticeable this year. Like,
the team didn't have the puck ever.
People go, oh yeah, it's Voracek's a turnover machine. Funny how he's the only one who can fucking carry the puck into the zone. I get so annoyed. This is what I'm saying. It's like, and I hear, like, even I think Dan said on our podcast that, like, Ghost was good for about a month. Like, what are you talking about? I can point out 3 seasons where not only is he good, he's very good.
Yeah.
Exactly. A month? You reduce it to a month? Like, come on. This is what I'm saying. You want to make a real argument? Make a real argument. That is nonsense. And even though you're frustrated, I understand. I'm not going to sit here and be like, you're an idiot. But it's like, these are not real arguments. This is you getting frustrated and want to flip the board. The reality is where we are is mediocrity.
Pretty much.
With a lot of bad luck. And
it comes to like bringing up legitimate things. Like you can legitimately point out probably areas where Provorov struggled. But
sure,
the thing that
he also finished very strong.
That's what I wanted. That's what I was going to kind of end it with, Yariv, is that like you bring up the struggling part of it, but like you fail to acknowledge the good in the game or where the guy's succeeding. So it obviously just shows
what's the story
opinion. Yeah, exactly. Right. So like, that's the thing, right? Like at least for me and the way I'm going to evaluate a player, there's been plenty of players that I thought were going to be really good that didn't turn out to be good at all. But like I can acknowledge that fact and say, well, I thought they were going to be good and they weren't. But I see the fact that they're bad and I can acknowledge where they're bad. But you have to be able to do the same thing if a player, let's say you think a player isn't going to live up to expectations or isn't going to top out at what projection you're kind of aiming for them. You have to be able to say, well, you know what? I can bite my tongue on that. I was wrong, and look how he's turned it around, or look how when he gets put into position with a player that actually complements his skill set, like with a Cam York versus a Braun, look how he plays when there's more options around him. And that's the thing, right? And that's the thing within a team game like hockey that really needs to be focused on, is that it's like anything, obviously, any job. If you don't have the right support around, you're not going to be able to do what you need to do effectively. And last season, for a majority of it, I mean, Provorov just did not have the right supports around him. First off, with playing with a defensive partner like Braun, who, I mean, isn't bad to any degree, but was playing above, his level on the first pairing, and obviously isn't a good skill set match for Provorov. And then secondly, I mean, just defensively and the structure of the team and how the forwards kind of, help the defenseman out. It was really non-existent most of the season. Like they would not back check. Two seasons actually. Yeah. Going back to AV, that season was terrible as well. And I guess half of AV for the last season.
Gave him the excuse of the COVID. And when COVID wasn't the problems were still there.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's what I mean, right? Like when you have in hockey, if your forwards don't support the defenseman, there's only so much the defenseman can do to close the gaps up top once the trailer's left open.
What your goalie can do.
Yeah, that too. But once the trailer's left open and the forwards aren't back to cover, he has the puck, and then now he can facilitate a shot to the net or facilitate back down low, and then your defenseman scrambling because he's like, oh no, the guy up top has the puck now. No one's here to help. I need to scramble up, and then it just causes chaos, right? There's no structure. And that's the thing with Tortorella that like you hope he's going to be able to implement, and you hope that he's going to bring back a semblance of at least a structured style of hockey where at the very least the team's in position and it's not going to be like, oh no, we're down 3-0 in the first period and it's 11 minutes in. Like, you know what I mean? That's a lot of the time where the Flyers found themselves in. That's not what a structured team. That's not what a bad hockey team does. It's what a team that's unstructured does.
Yeah, man. I'm not convinced that AV was doing a good job at all coaching, at least over the past 12 months.
No.
Like communication wise, organizing.
To start off, it seemed like he had a good, it seemed like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, but if you
were in flux, like
in the beginning of the team or here?
No, I'm saying the first season he was coached.
Something happened
along the line.
Something happened.
Which we're not privy to, obviously.
Something personal, and I've heard. I think Charlie O'Connor hinted at it. Something personal happened in this man's life where he
it's possible.
Focus. Dude, he does not coach in the NHL right now.
No, well, he, I think there was like, I don't know. I don't want to put anything out there that's crazy, but like I heard in passing stories that like he had potentially like health issues within his family. And that's something that could affect anybody to that level, right? So,
yes, it could be.
I don't want to blame the guy.
That's the thing. I'm not going to attack him. I just don't think that
he wasn't doing a good job. And that's not on him. Like, I mean, okay, if you're in a job, hypothetically, right? Like, are you going to fucking fire yourself? Like, it's up to your boss to do that. So, like, he's not going to actively go up to Chuck Fletcher and be like, you know what? You should fire me. Right. If Chuck Fletcher doesn't have the wherewithal to fucking see that, then that's
or he also knew what AV was going through. And
that's another thing. Let's give him a second chance. He has the summer off.
It's the human side most of us don't see where,
Well, if you're in a job and you're in an environment where you work with people, you do see situations like that where you pick up the slack for something.
I mean, look, I lost my dad when I was working in a work environment. I left for Israel for 2 months. People picked up the slack by me, didn't even question it. You know what I mean? It's like
exactly.
that's kind of what happens behind the scenes. A lot of times it's not going to be expressed to you. I don't know if that's the case. We could be making excuses for him. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, there are all kinds of reasons in relationship behind stuff. And I'm really, I don't know, man. A lot of the, like, I feel like a part of people, like, they don't really want this team to actually be better. Like, they more want to be validated that they're hurt. You know,
that doesn't make a lot of sense to me personally.
Well,
like you could say whatever you want about the strategy the team's taking, and well, you know what, they need to build for the future, and you have to do that a certain way, and everybody has their different opinion on that. But like, if the Philadelphia Flyers are a good hockey team next season, you like the Philadelphia Flyers and you're a fan of them, but why would you not want that to happen? Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, okay, like I hear the stuff like, oh, I don't see a foreseeable way on how this team can be good, or how could you possibly see over the next several years what the team has ahead of them, available to them from an outside perspective, and tell me exactly if they're going to be good in a few. You have zero idea. Not just that, zero idea.
No, and I would say too that, like, we're not experts by any means. We don't have fucking any idea either. So you know what? Like, to each their own. But
we don't
opinion.
pretend like we're not saying that we know what's going to happen for the
next.
No,
years. Exactly.
That's the point.
No, that's what I understand. But I'm saying, like, what I also mean to add on to it is that, like, if you hypothetically, want the team to be bad, let's say, because you're wanting to be validated for some sort of reason, like,
I think it's subconscious.
Well, it could be subconscious, but there's no way for you as an outsider, like you're saying, like, how would you actually know that? Like, do you watch every single prospect this team's drafted intently and know exactly like what their ceiling is going to be? Like,
they're not even going to tell you that. Let's not even be accusatory and be like, you don't know enough info, right? They're going to tell you it's a gut instinct, right? We go off gut instinct. We have gut instincts, right? Like Ryan Ellis criticism I had, that was a gut instinct at the trade. It wasn't me going, Ryan Ellis is a bad player. I was like, this isn't the move I would have made, right? It was just a gut instinct. I don't know why exactly I was right about it in the end, I guess, to some degree, but I couldn't tell you exactly why. And I think that's what people are saying is like, they don't feel like the things are in place to get better. And I totally get that. The problem is that your perception is not informed. And I think and I don't mean that again, like you don't watch the game and you yourself, that person criticizing, are not informed. It's that we do not have the foresight to do these things. Like when you ask me if the team will be good, I cannot answer all of the questions of if Tortorella will do a good job.
Too many variables, though.
How can you possibly exactly? So your answer, realistically, like if I threw you in a court case, your answer is I don't know.
It can't be like they're bad, but why? There's no reason to point to until
because they hurt you. Because they hurt you, and they did, and they sucked. And they were mismanaged, and they might continue to be mismanaged, and that will be painful. And I get it; people are preparing themselves already for it.
Of course, and that's the thing that sucks, right? Like, obviously, you're a fan of the team; you want to see the team do well. It's just that, like, there's so many aspects of the organization that just like we in general aren't privy to certain things. Like, it's hard for me to just be like, well, the whole staff and everybody in the organization has no idea what the fuck they're doing or what they're talking about. Like, I just can't, like, it's a professional organization. There has to be somebody that fucking knows something, that has some sort of insight into something, obviously. But the thing for me mainly is just like, I look at the way the team's drafted and like, I actually kind of like a lot of their draft picks. And that's the thing for me that I look at and I think like, okay, in the past, we
have two players on the World Junior team. We should probably talk about that too. But go
Tyson
ahead.
Forster and Ellie Desnoyers, two of the more promising guys that I think actually could have an impact coming up quite shortly, potentially. But I mean, with the prospects and stuff, I really like the way Fletcher's drafted. And it's really not on him; it's more Brent Flair who's in charge of that. And I like the way the team has drafted and their scouting staff. Well, not scouting staff, but like the way Flair runs drafts has shown kind of promise in Minnesota with how their team is now. A lot of those players were Fletcher draft picks. So, I mean, I'll give the process a chance with what they've done in the past here. Like, did anybody think Kirill Kaprizov as a 5th round pick was
nobody can. And quite frankly, if we would have drafted Kaprizov a 5th this year, most people would be like, who cares? He's a 5th round pick.
But what I'm trying to say is, how do you, like, it's not, I'm not going to try to sit here and sell you that the Flyers 5th round pick of any of the last 5 seasons is going to be fucking Kirill Kaprizov, but like you really never know.
Oh.
And like, is anybody watching these games who's making the opinion like, oh, the Flyers are shit, they're going to be super bad? Like, does anybody know these prospects to that extent?
No,
They're going to
dude.
hit. That's what I mean. So
Look at the way people are talking about Cutter Gauthier. They could
Yeah.
care less. All I keep hearing is, when is this team going to add young talent? You just added a top 5 pick, top center potential U.S. born player, and you could care less. In fact, the only thing I keep hearing about how is the wrong pick,
or how he's a second liner and he's going to be another middle sixer,
or even. And again, I really like Jordan Hall, but last night he said that there's nothing elite about Gauthier's game. That sounds like you've never seen him play. I don't know what to say. Like,
you know what? I'm not going to talk shit and be like, oh, I watched Cutter Gauthier play, and like I like looked for film, but like I watched highlights of the guy, and like if you just watch the guy's highlights, you can see the skill.
If his name was Cutter Kachuk, would you be excited about him? You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Also a number 5 pick. Did you know Kachuk would be a 100-point player, or were you just assuming that because his father was? And how many players do we see that have a really good dad that they're not as good as their dad? So none of this is set in stone.
That's what I mean. That's what we're kind of trying to get to, basically. It's just
but
you can't just predict that the team's going to be bad just by the fact they were bad the last 2 seasons.
Here, let's throw out a scenario. Let's throw out a scenario right now, Vasili. We all feel a certain way right now.
Obviously,
totally understandable. Let's say the Flyers are not a great team this year, right? But they make the playoffs barely. They're that middle of the road team that everybody's worried about. Well, all of a sudden, we're not the worst team in the league anymore, are we? So we don't need to think that way. That means when we go approach trades, we don't need to think that way. When we approach free agency and other players, they don't think that way about us. Our staff doesn't feel that way. The young players feel better about themselves. Oh, and by the way, we did just draft a number 5 overall pick that you're adding to a team that has improved. None of this is crazy. It's all the steps to improving.
Yeah.
Does it mean you're going to win a Stanley Cup? No.
But also, too, like my perspective is that even though they were bottom 5 this season, like, especially in terms of the athletes, like, sure, you could say some guys don't have their confidence, but I mean, they're professional athletes. They made to this point and to this, to the NHL for a reason. So like, they obviously believe in themselves. They still do believe in themselves and have belief that they can bounce back as players and as a team. So like, I just think that, I mean, it's overblown. Oh, the team, they're already throwing in the towel. Like nothing's even happened yet. So like, just seeing that take from people before a season's even begun is kind of just like tiresome. It's just because like you haven't even watched the game, you haven't even watched the team. It's like a completely different. I mean,
I know
you could say it's
Fletcher's fault.
You could say, oh, they're running it back with all these players, but like realistically,
dude,
there's a lot.
It's a new excuse
from last night. Yeah, from last year's opening night roster to this year's, there's significantly different players on this roster than were on the opening night roster last year. It's the first thing. The second thing is the whole coaching staff difference. So the fact that you can say that, oh, we already know what this team is preposterous, because like you literally don't have any fucking idea. Well, like what system they're going to play, how their lines are going to be structured, how anything is going to play out at this point. So
this is why I get frustrated, because I feel like people don't actually care. Like I feel like we're arguing the nuance when like the nuance doesn't really matter to most people.
Probably,
they'll find a different.
But I mean, we're arguing the hockey nerd nuance basically.
That's kind of what I'm saying. It's like no matter what, if it happens different, there'll still be that like, but this. And I feel like we're just arguing with that, where there's really no point to do any of that anymore, because it doesn't do anything. And it's actually, at the end of the day, irrelevant. And just, it's frustrating in the sense because you find yourself arguing with reality. And it's like, it doesn't help. And I still love this saying, and I say it like almost every time, and it works in every context that I've been in. You can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. Like
perfectly said.
Yes. Like you can talk shit on the team and say they're the worst team ever. And then if players do well, you can't just be like, oh, well, they're still the worst team ever. No, you look insane.
No, look at the stats to show otherwise, right?
Just like you can't say, oh, Morgan Frost is absolutely having a killer year and he has 8 goals total in his career, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do any of that. You have to just say it is what it is. This is not that bad, and it's not very good. And that is not a great place to be from a predictability standpoint. And that feels awful as a fan.
Yeah,
to not know if you're going to get worse or better.
Exactly. There's no way to really know just based on, the performance last season. And then also just all the question marks going into this season. But that also does leave room, for optimism, I would say, because just like you don't know how bad they're going to be, you don't know how good they could potentially be, right?
But I feel like that's what upsets people too, right? Like most anger is rooted in a loss of control, right? So if you look at the fact that you're a fan of this team, you're investing your time, your emotion, your energy, and you have no idea if they're going to beat up your emotions or ride you high, your immediate thing is to just be angry at them, right? Yeah. I don't know what you're doing. Screw you.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair enough.
Don't blame them. Don't blame anybody, and Flyers deserve that, but it's not a reflection of reality, unfortunately. It's a reflection of the management
of opinion and management, really.
Quite frankly, the job that Chuck Fletcher is doing, I do think is plenty of criticism there for the role.
No, there's tons of criticism for Fletcher, and he hasn't done a good job in terms of asset management over the years and just his offseason in general. I think that's really where a lot of it stems from. I think if he showed a concrete plan and actually followed through on that this offseason, I don't think the fan base would be as pissed as they ultimately are, which they have every right to be mad at management and just the way they've handled things. But I just don't think that anger at management should also be on the players, because it's really not their fault that he butchered, certain acquisitions, certain potential trades, certain potential signings. That's a totally different, like the hockey team and the management side of the hockey team are two totally different things, despite being related. The players on the ice don't control the management and vice versa. So you can't do anything about that. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. And I don't think any player is sitting here thinking oh fuck, because Chuck Fletcher did a shit job in the offseason, that means I'm going to be trash this season. I can't see any professional hockey player taking that mindset. No, that's the thing, right? They're probably going to say, in fact going to say that, you know what, this is more opportunity for me to prove myself that I can be the difference maker.
I would say actually, that's a really great point. Vasili,
if you're Morgan Frost, you're thinking to yourself, well, no big acquisition was made. I have the skill, I have the talent. I'm going to break out.
I would look at it so different if I was a player. Actually, to your point, I would look at it as Chuck Fletcher got rid of the guy we thought was a problem, who we stopped playing for. He fired him. He fired all of the coaches.
Our longtime captain is gone.
But again, he fired all of the coaches and didn't trade us all away.
Yeah. Almost a double down. Yeah.
He didn't trade us all away. He didn't buy out every player left and right. He didn't even buy out JVR, you know what I mean? The guy that they must have known was rumored to leave. Yeah. You know what I mean? He wasn't that aggressive to get rid of everybody. He is buying a second chance for a lot of these guys. You could think he's an idiot for doing it, but there's no way the team is going to think that. There's no way Morgan Frost is going to think, oh, he didn't bring in a third line center because he thinks I can do it. What an idiot. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's going to be oh, okay, well, maybe they believe in me to take this spot.
And I think I can. Yeah, that's what I mean. And that's the side of it, I think, that people fail to realize. No matter how much you think Fletcher's an idiot, there is a certain side to developing people that work for you, or showing a sense of belief in them to get further out of them, right? If you are in a job, that's how you develop their skills in general. So
you know what's funny? The backup goalie thing is the least of concerns to me, and it's pissing a lot of people off. Yeah. And in my mind, I'm I think I don't care.
The only reason it pisses me off, and it doesn't piss me off a lot, because I actually think Samson's pretty good. It's just if Hart gets injured, they're kind of fucked.
Well, I think that this is the type of off season they should have had last year. Realistically, even less. What is the risk? The risk is, do you think you're a playoff contender and you need a top goalie? If Carter Hart's out anyway, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to be anything. And bringing in any type of even Martin Jones, he's not taking you. He's not doing shit. Not more than Felix Sandstrom. Quite frankly, I'm like, this is the year to bet on these guys. This is the year to give it to Sandstrom.
It sucks with the Fedotov situation because like I would have loved to just.
This was the year to do it.
That's what I mean. I love that move.
We're not very good. You're not risking a lot. You're not lined up for a playoff spot. This is the year you bank on York.
That's what I mean. Like if Sandstrom, let's say Sandstrom plays well, that's another asset for you down the line because he signed for two seasons. But also like if let's say the team plays well and that looks to be a weak spot, you can always add at the deadline. So like there's two ways to, if it doesn't think you
theoretically, but again, most people know the future anyway. So what's the difference? You don't need to add a goalie for the playoffs anyway. And if Hart is injured, then Sandstrom's your guy. Your team's not very good, and you're in the Connor Bedard race. And you win-win, and you didn't give up any assets. Oh, and by the way, there's still a large portion that is supposed to be LTIR, and I am not seeing any single person bring up the very sheer fact that you can add players into the season. Yeah. The lineup that we start with will not be the lineup at the end of the year. And every season, every fucking season, and I'm sorry to get angry, but every season, everybody pretends like the season we're starting in training camp is the season we're is the team we're finishing with. No, we're not.
Well, look at last season's training camp roster to the end.
It's every year. Almost every year is like that. So every time I see people freaking out about like, okay, are we a legitimate playoff team? No, then I'm not really that worried about it. If I was and I got to compete for a playoff spot, I'm like, hey, how did you not bring me in a guy I can ride if my top? That makes sense. But right now, with so many question marks, what is the fucking difference? That it was the year to go for Fedotov and Sandstrom, in my opinion. That's why nobody complained when that was the combination.
Yeah. I like Fedotov Sandstrom combo more than Samstrom Groznik for sure.
Groznik is not an option. I think they're bringing in. I think we're gonna have a bunch of PTOs. That's my guess.
That's possible. I mean, I saw a rumor. I mean, don't quote me on this that like this is gonna happen or anything, but I just saw in passing on Twitter saying like the Flyers potentially may be interested to give a PTO to like a Phil Kessel. He's still out there, so never know.
Dude, he'll work for hot dogs, bro.
That'd be kind of interesting, to be honest. When I saw that, I'm just
low cap hit.
My thought is like the Flyers power play stinks. Like he's good at the power play. So
I would be happy to take again Phil Kessel on a 1-year deal. You know, I don't know what's gonna happen, dude. What if Ryan Ellis comes back?
Well, I mean, fuck, that would be
which I don't
right?
Look, I'll be honest with you.
I don't really think he will
at all.
But what do I know? So.
What do we do? Well, what happens?
Yeah.
How do you who sits?
Well, I mean, if
York plays in the minors.
If he comes back,
then York is in the minors.
Yeah, possible. I mean, honestly, maybe it's either that or because, not even. He might not even be because, like, realistically, okay, let's go over this actually because I kind of wanted to bring this
dude. I mean, are you gonna bench Braun?
No, not this part, but like roster wise, I think what was it? So.
Because with you, that would make York the number 7 on the team.
Yeah,
not really. I mean, he's above Braun in my opinion, but
cap space like right now. So okay. So right now, like this is their lineup. With Van Riemsdyk, Couturier, Konechny, Scott Lawton, Kevin Hayes, Cam Atkinson, Noah Cates, Morgan Frost, Owen Tippett, Delorier, Brown, Zach McEwen, newly signed $925,000 1-year deal. Tanner Lasinski. And then Provorov, D'Angelo signed, Sanheim, Ristolainen, York, Braun, Sealer, LTIR, Ryan Ellis. I think they're about like 500 to 800,000 over or something along those lines. So like they can. I
still got LTIR Farabee.
Farabee, that's what I mean. Yeah, so they can like send like a. McEwen to the minors, hypothetically.
Sealer, I don't think will be.
Or Sealer, they could.
I don't think he'll be in the NHL.
They could send really either or.
I don't think McEwen's going to be in the NHL too. We should talk about that too. And
yeah, so they're 83. So they're 564,000 over the cap, with Ellis in, 23 full man roster, and so you either got to go 22 man or put someone on LTIR. Essentially.
Oh, I think without a doubt we're gonna have some LTIRs. We could still have some more leading up to the God forbid.
Yeah, but like I think that's why the Flyers ultimately like we didn't announce this or to kind of bring it up, but I mean the Flyers re-signed the Zach McEwen 1-year deal, 1-way contract, $925,000.
What was the quality? what was the qualifying offer though? It was a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
And it was a 2-way contract.
Yeah.
Why? Because they plan on waiving McEwen.
Yeah, but I think the reason why McEwen went for the 925,000 and Bill Meltzer kind of
it's a 1-way deal. He gets paid no matter what.
One-way deal, so he's going to get paid whether he's in the minors or not.
Because he suspects they're going to waive him.
Probably. I mean, and wouldn't you suspect that if you were him and you saw them sign like a mirror image of you?
But that's
on the fourth line.
But that's exactly what I said when they signed Deloria. I was like, oh, they're going to sign McEwen a 2-way contract.
Yeah. And then, like, if there's games where Deloria gets injured or something, they'll bring him up.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I'm not confident McEwen can make this team out of camp.
No, I just don't see the mix on the fourth line. Unfortunately, I like the guy though.
But... I mean, if Allison is healthy, who makes the team? Allison or McEwen?
Allison, like personally,
Allison by far. He's a much better player.
I don't know. Like the fourth line is personally, like if it's me, like I'd rather have the fourth line be Allison, Lisinski, and Patrick Brown. Like I don't even want Deloria. Like Deloria is gonna fucking play.
I honestly think Deloria is gonna be better than we think. I'd rather have Deloria than Patrick Brown. I think, but with Lisinski and Allison, I'm looking forward to what Deloria brings.
I mean, realistically, I would want my fourth line to be Wade Allison, Talos, Lisinski, and Isaac Ratcliffe.
I would actually want it to be Scott Lawton. I want it to be
Deloria,
Lawton, and Allison.
I just think
line.
With
imagine that fourth line.
Imagine
playing against that fourth line. They would be
tough.
Nightmare.
I just think with Farabee out there, Lawton's already destined to be up. Like so.
Oh yeah. No, I understand why, but my ideal situation.
If your fourth line has Scott Lawton, then you can run fourth lines like four lines.
I mean, I look at a guy like Noah Cates. I look at a guy like Tippett. I look at a guy like Ratcliffe. Like these are all guys that I'd rather play in a top wing position and have Scott Lawton hold the middle of the ice.
But that's the thing, man.
We don't have enough centers right now.
That's the problem, and that's why kind of Patrick Brown slotted in there. First off,
I think you're probably right, but
yeah, and then I mean, personally, me like I want a guy like Ratcliffe just to get in because like guy's getting older, but like big dude, 6'6". Like once he hits, man, like
I also
you're gonna see the benefits. So like, I don't see the point of getting a guy like I don't see a point of playing like a McEwen, Delorier type. Despite the money you're paying them over a guy that has so much potential, you know.
Who says McEwen is going to outplay Ratcliffe?
They're not. That's what I wonder.
No, I don't think he outplayed him last year. I think Ratcliffe is already a better player.
That's what I kind of wonder. Is like, let's say Ratcliffe comes in hypothetically and like kills it at camp. Like, if you're John Tortorella, if you're John Tortorella, and I mean, like,
he has to be waived.
You see, that's what I'm saying. If you see Lisinski, Wade Allison, and him killing it together, like how can you, from a hockey standpoint, be like, I need to have Nicholas Deloria and fucking Patrick Brown? Like I feel like Tortorella won't give a fuck. Like
I wouldn't be surprised if they have to waive Nick Deloria, and because it's such a high contract, nobody will bite.
Yeah,
and
obviously
it won't matter until they get cap compliant. But I mean, it will be a paper transaction. Never going to move him.
No,
but I wouldn't be surprised if they do weird shit like that because McEwen,
and he's like the 13th forward.
Yeah, nobody's really going to take McEwen, but somebody will take Isaac Ratcliffe.
Yeah,
and if I see fucking Fletcher make moves,
wave like a young
better
guy.
be fucking fired. If I see another Nicholas Aubé-Kubel situation where the guy's obviously going to get taken,
but with a guy that is not the thing with Aubé-Kubel that you could be like, well, like okay, you know, super undisciplined with the penalties, smaller guy.
And even that one was obvious.
Yeah, even that one. Yeah, exactly. Even that one we knew. But a guy like Ratcliffe who's 6'6",
he's
in the NHL, he's gone.
They're not moving him.
In a snap.
There's no way they're going to waive him. I honestly think that Isaac Ratcliffe is going to be on this team.
I hope, yeah.
I really think it's a mistake to even worry too much. I'll be honest with you, the type of situation we're in, I'm not saying I don't know what they're going to do. I do not focus on. I think it's a mistake to even play veterans. I think it's a mistake. Keep these young guys. See what they have. You're not very good anyway.
You might as well see. Yeah.
Yeah. Like developing Brown isn't doing anything for you.
But also like
you can move Patrick Brown.
Yeah. Well, and you
can be in the minors.
You can find another guy.
He should be waived.
Yeah, I agree.
Should be in the minors to start the year. There's no reason for him to start with the Flyers.
I'd rather have Lisinski.
I'd rather keep the players. I don't need Brown. He can be taken. I'd rather not lose Lisinski or Ratcliffe. Like these are the guys I want in the NHL at this point.
How many Patrick Browns are going to be on waivers to start like
a lot, and that's why they'll do it
with recall waivers. You know what I mean? Like
that's why they can do it. I mean,
exactly.
I don't know if they'll do it, but I don't want to lose any young players because we're holding on to some vet. We are not in the position. We are not a playoff team. You do not need a veteran fourth line center. No. Sorry, that's when you're a playoff team. That's why I wanted one. It was like, oh, we're a playoff team. We need a gritty fourth line center who can take punishments. I don't have to put a kid there. Right now, I'm like, I'd rather give the ice time to a kid. I'd rather give it to Lazinski.
That too, and like you know what? You got
if he's healthy.
You got a coach like John Tortorella who can get the most out of younger guys and kind of give them the introduction to the NHL.
Just do it now.
Let him, do his
start the culture.
Exactly.
Let him. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Last topic here, I guess, as we're kind of rambling on. Did you want to get into that athletic efficiency contract kind of rating?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So basically, Dom Lasushkin of The Athletic, I probably butchered that, brought up or wrote an article about NHL contract efficiency just earlier today, grading every team and their efficiency in the league. The Flyers topped out at 28th, I believe. Yeah, so 28th worst NHL contract efficiency, and got an overall D+ rating. I don't really buy much stock into things like this just because it takes such a small sample size of a season in terms of analytics, and also you're using analytics that might not be things that are actively used by NHL teams on a daily basis to kind of grade out their players. So obviously there's a bias here in a certain sense based on the models used, the sample size used. So personally, 28th worst NHL contract efficiency doesn't bother me just based on that. I do find a couple of these interesting though. That's kind of hilarious. So we'll go down. So basically, Joel Farabee has a B+ contract grade with a surplus value of $7.9 million. So they say that he should be getting paid $7.9 million, but he's getting paid $5 million. I don't know where the fuck they get those numbers from. That's the first problem. But there's an interesting amount. So Konechny, another 1.8 million surplus value, so he should be getting paid 1.8 million more. Morgan Frost as well, 0.1 million. Then you get into Cam Atkinson should be getting paid $500,000 less. Scott Lawn should be getting paid a lot less. James Van Riemsdyk $3 million less. Sean Couturier a lot less. Nicolas Deslauriers a lot less. Kevin Hayes a lot less.
Sean Couturier getting paid a lot less, huh?
Yeah, apparently.
Those stats are really, really impressive.
From a season where the guy was injured the whole time. The models.
Sorry, continue.
The models don't make a lot of sense. And then you have Tony DeAngelo actually has the best contract on the team with an A-. And he apparently should be getting paid about $4 million more based on his analytic model.
What a bargain.
So we're getting it. But isn't that hilarious that everybody's shitting on DeAngelo in the contract, and then you have all these analytics being actually the Fly should be paying $8 million a year instead.
Yeah, and
so
it's funny because they're both wrong.
Yeah, pretty much. It literally just shows the fact that there's no perfect answer, but also things aren't as bad as this model makes it out to be for these contracts at all.
That model's a joke.
Yeah, I think the irony really comes from the fact that at least for me that. This whole summer the fan base is shitting on a guy like DeAngelo, and they're saying oh, look at the team, they're not focusing on analytics, they don't trust their analytics department, they don't use it as a tool, and then they have the Athletics Dom Lasushkin, who's a big analytics guy, basically say that that's the best analytical contract on the team. So it's just that's fucking hilarious. That's all I can really say. In terms of the impact he has, and I personally think DeAngelo is going to be a great addition. I think he's a great player. It
explains why the Flyers targeted DeAngelo.
Yeah, for sure. But he brings a lot just of what they need. I would say. So.
Comparing his contractual value when he played for a different team to the team that he's playing with makes zero sense.
No, that's the thing with the model. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
So stupid.
You don't know how he's going to fit. You don't know who he's playing with.
It also, the metrics are based off of completely different scenarios. So comparing him as a 1-for-1 with the other.
Because you're also putting him on a team.
Different team.
Yeah.
Yes.
It didn't even.
Doesn't make any sense. The sheer fact that you think that Sean Couturier is way overpaid again, I know what the list is doing. It's accounting for an injured player, and for the injured version of Sean Couturier and what he did last year, he gets paid too much for what he contributed last year. Okay, but that is not a reflection of what the player is. Just like D'Angelo is an awesome player. He's probably not a $9 million defenseman.
No.
What's his name? Seth Jones. And I said this, and I don't know if people agreed with me or not. I was like, this man is not worth $9 million.
No, not at all.
None of those guys who got that money were worth that money. None of them were worth that money. All of those GMs were wrong to give that money away to those players, and they will all suffer for it. All of them. That's the price in the market. Okay, well, then don't be the idiot in the market that gives players those numbers because they're not worth that much. And now look at Chicago. They're in a full-on rebuild, and they have a defenseman who's worth about $7 million a year, getting 9.
Yeah.
And
then you also gave up like 2 first-round picks for him, a second-round pick, and then was it Adam Boquist? Who,
if you're gonna go for it, just go for it, man. Just you're not gonna give up the 5th overall pick. Thank God Fletcher didn't do that. I would have had a
bad off season, but I'm pretty happy he didn't do that either because I think Gauthier is going to be a pretty solid pick.
For every horrible move that Fletcher makes, there is a decent move. There's a decent move out there, but there aren't great moves out there.
No, there's no great. That's
again, the Niskin one's the only one I can think of. That's the only trade that I can cheer out, say there was no downside to.
Yeah,
we won that trade.
Like, I don't know if you see me right now. Like, I'm trying to think really hard, like about like some sort of move. Like, other than man, it's true. Pretty much, we've harped back to it.
You could make case the Wayne Simmons trade was actually an amazing return if you kept Ryan Hartman.
Technically, I guess. Yeah, you could. Honestly, I mean, the Ellis trade in hindsight looked good. It didn't play out the way they wanted.
Value-wise, you can't shit on him for that because
because he's not losing. Like asset-wise, not losing.
All of the chips ended up being broken in it. So
that's what I mean.
He didn't get hosed there. Nobody got hosed.
Though he's getting hosed pretty regularly. So.
Yeah. The Ghost trade, he got torn a new asshole.
The Risso one, he got
even hosed. The D'Angelo one. It's again an asset that they weren't going to sign anyway, and you gave a second, a third, and a fourth. There was probably competition for him. I totally see that. If it's really true that the Flyers tried to sign him last year and were blocked from
that's
pathetic.
That's pathetic, and I kind of feel bad for Fletcher in that sense because if your higher ups are blocking for making a move, I mean, there's not much to really do.
And again, fire the business division. I've said it over and over again. Like I don't know what to say.
It's not like business has been booming under the business division. So.
Look, I don't care about that statue. Okay, I don't care. I don't care about any of that stuff.
Yeah,
but the way they went about that just shows the lack of attention to detail, the lack of understanding, and the fact that we just keep spiraling down this rabbit hole of overreactions, underreactions, not understanding. And, we think it's Fletcher. Maybe it's not just Fletcher. I mean, you look at the business decisions that the Flyers have made. They have not been great.
No.
They're in some cases worse than what Chuck Fletcher is doing. So you can make a case that maybe they're influencing this more than we think.
It's possible.
And that's a problem.
I mean, collectively, you never know how the structure is going to work in a corporate environment like Comcast. It's kind of hard to.
Why would anybody be able to tell Fletcher that he can't? If it's true, maybe it's not true. But why would anybody be able to tell Fletcher he can't sign Tony D'Angelo?
Well, obviously,
fuck us in the long term.
Some sort of public relations.
Imagine if we had Tony D'Angelo last year instead of Keith Yandle.
I mean, the team probably isn't as shit just for the fact that like you have a guy that could have just hopped up and played in Ryan Ellis' spot.
And we probably would have lost him this offseason. We probably would have traded him for an asset.
Maybe it's possible, yeah. But I mean, at least you would have had a guy that could have hopped up and been like, "Well, we still have him to play," and like albeit only would have been for $1 million around there. And you think the guy is going to try to really, have a good season and prove that he can play in the league?
Better.
Well, I mean, if you look at D'Angelo, like his last season was a make or break for him. Like
he's never had a bad season in the league.
No. But I mean, make or break
every year.
I mean, make or break in the sense, like for him, character-wise, like if he stepped in a line, did some like bullshit on the side, he was done. So like, he kept himself in line, man. Like I got to give props to the guy for that.
I don't think that is true.
It's possible, yeah. I just
my thing is that I think just like removing the statue, we have a lot of people nowadays who think it's wise to react quickly to things.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what happened exactly with Tony D'Angelo. I don't know what happened with him in New York. I find it very strange that he's the one who was punched in the face, and then he's the one who got kicked off the team, and then Georgiev is the one who leaves anyway in the end, who also apparently had problems in that locker room. I don't know if it's all Tony. I don't know exactly what happened. I have a very hard time believing that.
It's probably a bit of both, to be honest.
I just have a hard time believing that, let's say Tony D'Angelo went to another league and put up massive numbers, that somebody wouldn't have been like, all right, yeah. Like, notice this team, if that rumor is true, they did not approve signing him for $1 million, but they did approve trading a second, a third, a fourth, and signing him for 2 years after he showed that he was very good.
It really goes back to the fact that, like, I don't know. Like I said, we don't know who's making these decisions, but it just goes back for me to that, like, this Flyers brass. I don't know what section is making these decisions or who is making them, but like the brass just won't take a chance on something unless it's 100%.
They still didn't do it.
Yeah, I know.
And that's the biggest disappointment of this offseason. Not one, not a single guy that you thought, this guy had like a down year last year, but he's got some talent.
They
should bring him in to see.
So this management staff does not.
Tippett.
But they traded for him. Like, that's a different situation.
Frost. They're doing with our guys.
Yeah, they're doing it with their own players. But like, personally for me, like, I don't like the Delorier signing. He might prove me wrong. I don't hate the guy at all. I'd love to see him play well. But like, I would have allocated the $1.75 million and signed Kubalik.
Yeah. That's a perfect example. That's exactly what I thought of.
Yeah.
The
reason being too is because you have
Joel home run.
That's your home run, but you also have Joel Farabee, who's a left winger who's out, and Kubalik's also a fairly young guy that can step into that position potentially.
No, 100%. But where are the swings? Like, if you hit on a guy like D'Angelo,
Fletcher's really just bunting.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but if you hit on a guy like Kubalik, or you hit a guy like D'Angelo or DeBrincat, going way back, like this. When you are not good, this is your chance to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have as much room to do that when you are good because you need exactly what you need. Right. So, like, you can't take risks with your lineup when you don't have a defined lineup and you have so many question marks. Like, that's why I'm hoping
for PTOs. Let's make this signing. Yeah, I hope so.
I'm hoping for a bunch of PTOs. Like, it would be cool to see Braden Holtby trying out for the Flyers, as a PTO or whatever.
Well, he's done, actually, but that would have been
I'm just throwing an example. Did he retire officially?
Well, not officially, but I just read reports from like all the big insiders, like Friedman, LeBron, all that stuff. Apparently his knee is like shot. Like he has not been healthy apparently in that region for a while, so he's just gonna kind of quietly hang it up,
Yeah.
Which kudos to Holtby though. He was a great goalie.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Flyers still have a great goalie and nobody talks about it anymore because
Carter Hart, yeah. Because the team's just shit, apparently. So no matter what they have, they're always bad.
You know what I just love though? I love that, like, Rick Tocchet is like, everybody wants Tocchet. We want a guy who hold this team accountable and blah blah blah. And I keep hearing that with the Torts thing. He's going to hold everybody accountable. I really don't think that that's what Tortorella's specialty is. Like, I think every coach holds their players accountable. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, AV bench players, what's his name? Hackstall bench players.
I think it's more just a sense of like the relationship between the coaches and the players and just being like honest with them. I think that's more what it is. Like,
but I don't think it was ever. I don't think that was a problem with. I think that Michel Therrien is very honest with you about how he feels about you.
Oh yeah, no, I just mean the way they communicate. I just think the team couldn't deal with that, and the way Tortorella communicates is a little more straightforward and less passive aggressive.
But isn't that the opposite of what people are talking about when they're going because they're like, oh, he's gonna hold it. He's not coming in here to hold them accountable. That is not like, oh, we need a coach who can walk in here to hold these guys accountable.
Tortorella's going to say from the first day, like, we're going to play my way or not. Like, there's not going to be...
I think every coach says that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah.
But I don't... I know what you're saying, but I'm saying that is not the selling point for Tortorella. In my opinion, the selling point for Tortorella is what I've been saying. It's actually the opposite of what you guys are saying. They are going to have somebody who cares more about them than their previous coach.
Yeah.
That is what's... I don't think AV cared that much.
No, he might not care, but also like players can see how invested somebody is, and and can see that, you know what, this coach has my best interest in mind. And I don't know if AV
I don't.
necessarily had those interests in mind.
I
I think it
don't
was
think.
more. I think it was more of like a me. Like I
And,
want to keep my job. I want my interests in my own mind. I want the
well,
team to play how I want them to play. Things along those lines. But I think John Tortorella, arguably, I mean, he obviously wants the team to play well, but
like,
he also wants to make sure players are playing to the best of their
yeah,
capabilities. Which I don't know if AV was ever on that page.
I think it's like to the detail of this, like that John Tortorella would also be like, not only do I want my player to do well on the ice, but I want him to get married and build friendships with his friends and also build good hobbies and habits outside. Like that is Tortorella. He wants to be your dad. Like that's what I'm trying to say. This team needs a dad. Like they need somebody who is going to come and be like, clean your goddamn room up like right now. Get your ass together. We're going running. Like that, like they need the dad who shows up at 4 a.m. and be like, kick your door open and be like, you said you want to be on the hockey team, right? We're starting now. Like exactly. That's what we need. Yeah. That's what Tortorella is. He's a little bit of a nut. He'll love you for it. He'll go crazy. He'll show up at, crazy hours. He'll make you run. Like AV won't do that. He'll be like, look, these are my expectations. This is what I need. We're going to be a good team. And I have a history of being a good team. If you follow what I do, we can be good. All right, let's do it. Like that's AV, and Tortorella is like the weird guy who's going to be like, how are things going at home? Huh? What's going on with your wife? What's going on with your kids? Did you consider buying a dog?
I feel like there's more motivation.
He is going to psychoanalyze every single person on this team. And some people might not like it, but that's what they need. And they don't need us to do it as the fans from the stands going, you're a loser. They need somebody who actually is there, part of the process, to be like, I know why you're not giving me 100%. I figured it out.
Yeah, but there's also players see that, right? Like they see that Tortorella's invested in them, and the fact that he wants them to succeed. So that's I think a thing that a lot of players like welcome. That like you know what, this guy is interested in my game. He's interested in me.
He's interested in me.
I want to play for a guy like that, right?
He's not interested in the left winger. He's interested in me.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I think AV is, he's more interested as you as a left winger. He could deny that, but that's the attitude that I got from him.
Yeah,
that's not always the worst thing. Like sometimes you walk into a team full of superstars, right? Tortorella might not be the best guy there. Maybe that is an AV that walks in and be like, "Yo, guys, here's a roadmap. You already know what you guys. We
gotta play hockey. We're here, exactly.
But I know you guys are professionals. There's nothing wrong here. We're gonna come in, put in a new game plan, and go. That's not where the Flyers are. The Flyers are back to square one.
They need to build out the game plan in the first place.
So. Like that's next year for Tortorella to come in and be like, you guys already know the drill. Should have prepared this offseason. You knew what it was last year. All my captains are in place. All my shit's in place. Now bring me more talent. Let's make this team better. Like, I think that's the route we're going on. Do we have anything else to talk about?
Not much, I think. I think we kind of went through it all, even though there's no news.
There is no news. Is there any upcoming news?
No. Unfortunately not.
No milestones or anything?
Nothing. I mean, if there is, I don't know them off the top of my head, unfortunately. But I mean, from our podcast perspective, I think last week was 118th episode, so we're almost 120. So next week's 120. So that's a big number. So there you go.
Dude, I can't believe that. Look, one day I'm going to be saying, dude, this is episode 200.
200, yeah, I know.
Watch drumming tutorials with that Wi-Fi.
Jesus Christ. That's a lot of time spent.
Yeah.
A lot of time spent talking. All right. Well, let's wrap this one up. Vasili, what do you got for folks? Anything coming out soon? Working on anything?
Nothing too,
It's a slow season.
Nothing really coming out. I might have something up this weekend in terms of like a breakout type article. What type of players might, break out going into next season. I mean, if you listen to this podcast, you might already have an inkling of what that might be about. So check it out. Might be up probably Friday, Saturday around that time. So this should hit your feeds tomorrow, which would be Thursday. So thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, shout out to our sponsor, Jim Steaks. Make sure that you guys keep track of that. Again, send them your love. Even probably some messages on their social or whatever, probably good enough. Again, we do have the GoFundMe account, which again, we're not going to be keeping a cent of that. That is all for them. we don't do that stuff. Again, if you have not noticed, we do not do most of this for profitability. So we're not starting with this. So yeah, make sure you can support them.
We're just here for the Flyers, guys.
Yeah, that's what motivates me. Otherwise, I would not be doing this. Yeah, so make sure to support them, and then when they're back up, we'll let people know if you guys are in the Philly area or whatever. Yeah, it's just a shame. But yeah, good luck to them, and we'll keep the shout outs to them going forward. Again, like and subscribe to our stuff. It's a huge help. The subscriber numbers, again, still trying to carry all that up. Reviews, comments. You guys are commenting more and more all the time. It's so awesome. Thank you. Yeah, sincerely. It's awesome. Leaving comments, even about everything. I do read.
And
everything.
Hopefully, I read everything as well. And hopefully, I mean, with the news being slow, maybe we can try to get like a mailbag type episode out in the next couple weeks. We'll try to put something out on Twitter and see what happens. We're just really bad. Like, we're both in tech, so we're just busy. So we're just really bad with social media. Unfortunately, we need an account manager.
For all of you guys wondering, I literally was working up until the minute that we started recording this.
Yeah, podcast. I work till 7, so at 10. So just
slid over here to continue
in front of a computer. Just in front of computers all fucking day.
Yeah, I won't be done till like midnight tonight. So fun day. Sweet. All right. Thank you everybody again for listening. We really appreciate it. We love you guys. Like, subscribe, share the whole thing. Again, try to stay a little more positive and at least wait till a little bit in the season before you decide it's all over. That's all.
And the sky is falling.
Yeah. All right. We love you all. We love the Flyers still. And remember, always stay free.